Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is embroider. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you are likely to hear embroider used is to mean to decorate fabric by sewing patterns on it with thread. This is by far the most common way to use this particular verb. And to help illustrate what this verb means, I've included a really fun and special piece that hangs in my house. My mother in law embroidered this particular hanging. It was a gift to my husband and I for our wedding, right? So you can see two little birds here kissing, and you can tell there are different sewing techniques used to make this particular pattern or design. A second way you might hear embroider used is to mean to add false or exaggerated details to a story in order to make it more interesting. I feel like I have seen this verb used in a couple short stories or other pieces of literature describing a character, again, who likes to exaggerate or embellish, make things seem a little more exciting than what they might actually be. You should know that embroider is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, all you need to do is add ing to form embroidering. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding ed. Our base verb, embroider, ends in a voiced R sound. So our past tense ending is just going to make a D sound. We're not going to add an extra syllable as we add that ed sound to it. So it should sound like this: embroidered, embroidered. Okay? Now, there aren't any phrasal verbs that we need to study with this particular verb. So that's going to allow us to focus on making some example questions. But before we use our verb of the day, I want to review how we form more information questions in the future tense. And we're going to focus on using be going to. Many teachers and textbooks refer to these as WH questions because most of these questions are going to begin with a word that starts with the letters W and H. I like calling these more information questions because I always want my students to remember you just can't say yes or no to these particular questions. We have to provide the person asking the question with some more information. To make questions in the future tense using be going to, there is a set pattern that we need to follow. So we can start with our question word, and then what comes next is a present form of be. And that form of be is going to depend on what our subject is. Right? So if I'm talking to myself and asking myself a question in the future, right, I would use am. Right? So we can see am and then I. So the subject's coming right after that be verb. If I'm asking you to answer a question, or I'm asking they or we to answer a question, the form of be I want here is are. And if my question is to he, she, or it, right, I'm going to ask or use the form of be is. Okay, so here's our structure again, little review. We're doing question word, form of be, a subject. Then, after this point, it's all going to be the same. We're going to use going to and then a base verb. You might see other words that follow the verb to kind of give the question more context as well, but that's generally our structure there. So going to base verb. So no special endings on the end of the verb here in the simple future. If you'd like, you're welcome to kind of pause and work on making some questions of your own here. Um, uh, I've built this, I think, in a way where we could ask a question or alter our form of be, our subject, our verb a little bit to come up with all different kinds of examples. I'll make a couple. I might ask someone, where are they going to study, right? I want to know the place. Are they going to a library? Are they going to a coffee shop, right? Okay. Or maybe I ask, why is he going to buy groceries, right? What's the reason? Okay. Again, you can pause and look a little more closely if you're curious. But now let's focus on using our verb of the day, embroider, and make some questions in the simple future using be going to. Now, sometimes when we ask questions, we want to know about a place or a location. We'll use the question word where in these situations, right? So you can see here as an example, where are they going to embroider on the pillowcase? Right? In the past, I have been gifted some beautiful pillowcases where someone has embroidered a very special design, maybe flowers, initials, things like that. Sometimes it's just on the edge of the pillow, sometimes it's right in the middle. And so here we're asking for kind of where on the pillow is this going to happen? We can also ask questions about time. This could be time on a clock or time as in a date. Okay? An example for this, we'll use the question word when. When is she going to embroider the children's backpacks? So here maybe we have a mom, an aunt, a grandma, someone who's decided, oh, before the children go back to school, I'm going to put little designs. I'm going to make some designs onto the backpack, right? And now we want to know, what's the plan here? When is this going to happen? We can ask questions about the manner in which someone does a particular action. Okay? We use the question word how for that. An example here, how are you going to embroider on that slick material? I think it can be quite difficult to embroider on certain types of materials. One of that would be if it's very slick, right? Then maybe the stitch doesn't stay in very easily or very well. I am far from an expert on this topic, though, but that is what I have heard from those who do this. So here we're asking, in what way are you going to be able to make this work? Another common question is to ask someone the reason they're doing a particular action. You can see that here with the question word why. Why is he going to embroider napkins? You might think, gosh, that seems like a lot of work. People just wipe their dirty mouths on them. Why is he going to that effort? Another question we ask is about an object, a thing, and we use the question word what. Okay? An example here. What are they going to embroider at arts and crafts camp? Right? So we want to know, what are they going to sew on? Maybe it's a towel or some other kind of tote, right? Could be many different things. What I hope you notice here is my first 5 example questions are all following that pattern we looked at earlier. So question word, be verb, subject, going to base verb. My last 2 example questions don't follow that pattern. There's a second way we can ask about an object or a thing, and that's with the determiner which. Okay? What's different here, though, is right after which is going to come a noun. We need to give someone options. That's why we're using this question word. We're asking someone to choose between 2 or more things. You can see this in my example here. Which pair of jeans are you going to embroider? Okay, so I've got that pair of jeans, right? And then my pattern resumes. Be, subject, going to, base verb. Okay? So some people like to sew patterns onto back pockets or maybe even the leg of a pair of pants as well. Kind of all up to you. The last type of question we ask is about a subject, the person responsible for a particular action. We use the question word who for that. Example, who is going to embroider the gifts for the teachers? So here we want to know who is responsible for that action. Now let's take a moment to look at some words that are related to our verb embroider. The first word you might hear is the noun embroidery. This is just referring to the act of embroidering or even the pastime. An example of this, who taught you embroidery? Who taught you how to make these patterns or sew these designs? A second way you'll hear the noun embroidery used is to refer to an exaggeration as someone is telling a story. An example of this, that was some embroidery of the facts. The last word we're going to look at today is the noun embroiderer. This is a person who does embroidery or needlework. An example of this I saw recently in an obituary was, in her spare time, she was an expert embroiderer. Right? So referring to her hobby, her pastime, and something this person really enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.